Okay. Okay. Welcome.
Thank you.
You need a mic.
Do I need a mic?
Yes.
Probably.
Do you want a seat?
No.
You need to be mobile. Okay.
It's interactive, but we're still sitting. I
Okay.
didn't quite succeed with my goals, but that's okay. Alcohol, yay! So this is like Mike was saying before. There's a whole tranche of alcohol-related bylaws and policies. So we've already talked about the local alcohol policy, which is really the biggie of the three. Then there's also the public places alcohol control bylaw and the alcohol fees bylaw. So try and lump them all together because it's all alcohol related, and then you just go out once and talk to people about alcohol instead of three different things. The alcohol fees bylaw is a bit of a funny one. It's more like operative. It's just the only mechanism that council really has. The fees for alcohol, when you apply for a license and everything that goes with that, is set out in the Sale and Supply of Alcohol Act, which was from 2012. So those numbers have not changed. So this is a mechanism that's written in there that you can set your own prices, or your own fees through a bylaw. So it seems like, it should be sitting with the other fees policies that council has, but it's just the nature of this one. The bylaw is the only thing we can do. So yeah, we're not going to do an awful lot on that one because it's a bit more internal, but the alcohol control bylaw we can do a bit more, and that one's quite simple, really. It's basically your alcohol ban areas and your bits and bobs that go with that, but mainly the alcohol ban areas. Yeah, so that's what we're going to basically talk about. Any questions so far? Yeah. Cool. So yeah, this is basically starting the process of what the bylaw is going to look like. It's due for its review. So I've just got a couple of maps of the Cambridge area here with the current alcohol ban areas on them. And basically, we're just going to talk about if you guys have any feedback about those areas. If you think they work, if they don't work, leave them as is or change them. And then also secondary to that, if you think should include anything else. There's a little bit of information around parks, like some, not all of them, but some parks might benefit from an alcohol ban area. And also there are currently some buildings, this room included, specifically excluded from the alcohol ban areas. So do you have any thoughts on that? Yeah. Start off with Cambridge. So on these maps is the colours. Sorry, there is a little key here, little legend. There's a blown up one. The colours are the zones that are found in the district plan. The reason for that being is to sort of show you where the commercial areas are, which are indicated in orange. And also just because one of the suggestions made by the licensing inspectors was that possibly combine the local alcohol policy with the bylaw through considering the bylaw, the alcohol ban areas. I'll phrase that better. Basically, if you're within an alcohol ban area or without an alcohol ban area, the rules that apply to the license will be different. But we've sort of talked about that previously, and with councillors as well, that it's probably not, like, it's quite confusing. It's probably not the option that's going to be, presented in the end. But I thought leave it like that anyway, just so you can see sort of what's happening. So yeah, the yellow is residential areas, is according to the district plan, and the orange is commercial areas. The green is open spaces, so that includes your parks or your reserves, sports fields, all of those together. And the current alcohol ban area is the little dotted, red dots. This is just a wider maps to give you a bit more context. But yeah, any thoughts? Alcohol ban. Realistically, yeah, you can't take an open container area. But you can pass through it, like if you have just bought it and you're taking it home. But basically it gives police, so council doesn't enforce this, it gives police the authority with their discretion to be like, you're a nuisance, most likely just get you to tip out your alcohol. That's realistically how it gets enforced.
So why are some urban streets in and some out? Is it their proximity to parks and stuff?
Great question. 10 years ago. Imagine it was probably like an easy boundary to follow, is following the streets, and then also possibly to include the parks. So that's why it's quite wide. It's the same thing in Te Awamutu. So it's just the easy boundaries for people to follow.
Can I ask what makes very silly question, apologies, is around that term public places. So I noticed that some buildings are excluded here because these are considered public buildings being owned by council. So when we're talking about public spaces, if someone was in their office having a Christmas event, that doesn't count as a public place.
No, so there is a
Now,
definition.
it's too old that it won't let us run more than 2. Sorry. I'm sorry, Karen.
There is a definition for public place. I'll find you the exact wording, but it is a place accessible by the public, and I think that whether the owner has the ability to remove you from that premises or whether you have to pay a fee or not. So I think that is basically to include places like car parks that you can access, but council doesn't necessarily own it. It's not necessarily publicly owned, but it's easily accessible by the public.
Like if a business place had a car park and they're like, we can't all fit in the office, but we want to put a couple of gazebos on our car park and have our staff barbecue there, does that become a public place?
Yes.
Because the public could wander into
So
it.
imagine like you're going through the McDonald's drive-through.
But it's on like so privately leased or owned commercial land.
If there's like not a barrier that you have to climb this fence to get in.
Yeah.
If you can just sort of wander in, it's a bit of a loose
This
definition.
like
but
sounds grey to me, like difficult to
this is-
pin it down.
This
Yeah.
is the definition that's in the act. So
Yeah.
it's not one that council came
Council
up
gets
with.
to decide.
Yeah,
Okay.
More like a police permit that's a well-contained, nice
Yeah.
versus something that might be.
The police did emphasise that they do use discretion.
Yeah.
Quite a bit. So if they see someone in the park using, like having a drink with lunch, with their family picnic, probably not gonna ask them to
Yeah.
put out.
Because I'm just thinking around, like if these residential streets are included in having a street party or a street barbecue,
Yeah.
and they're technically an alcohol ban area, anyone can wander the street, but
Yeah,
so
it's you do rely a lot on that discretion, but it is
but it's
there
It's a
for
technical
technically, I don't know, they're tricky, it's tricky.
Yeah, it's sort of like worst case
You live on
scenario.
Wall Street
Yeah.
or Bracken, or you live on Campbell.
And then someone complains and says you're flouting
Yeah.
the alcohol bylaw or
Yeah.
an alcohol ban zone. I don't know, becomes an issue.
I guess,
And yes, you're
It's a
like, the police
technicality.
show up, but the police
Yeah.
technically would potentially have to enforce that if it was an alcohol-free zone.
but would they say it's up to us, discretion and.
I-
that's not a problem?
They have a sort of a set process, and that involves discretion. So they don't automatically go like, I fine you and I arrest you. They step through assessing what the situation needs. And they said even finding, the last resort.
Yeah.
Usually took out your drink. Go.
Yeah,
Like a flip side.
Yeah.
Quite a lot of green spaces, not.
yeah.
Does that mean you can party? And then we can't do.
There's still like
Can't be public nuisance.
Yeah, so yeah, you're just wrong on that.
yeah.
But I guess there's a
other
difference
rules
between
that come into force as well.
having a
What is the
quiet drink.
point?
Like
What is
my,
the point?
it's, I feel like that's problematic if we're banning alcohol on suburban streets. Someone might be having a drink on the street with their neighbour. I'm playing devil advocate. Technically, they're
Yeah.
starting.
But if I step inside the garden.
Yep, that's right. But what if you street parties, community engagement, have a quiet drink here? No one's being a nuisance, but these ones are breaking the bylaw, and it becomes a problem and potentially. Now, I know we're relying on police discretion, but if we're having a debate about it, I reckon we want to be kept not just
You can
block
also
out
get
blocks.
a dispensation. So you
Yeah.
can apply.
It's like these little
have your
streets
event
and
and
through
not
there.
go under the alcohol. That's a council process.
You can apply for exemptions.
Yes.
That's not a license, that's just an
No,
exemption to the.
so
ban.
forget licenses.
Okay.
If you said I'm going with my family for a picnic, in
Yeah.
the corner here,
Of
Yeah,
Lake Tico too.
yeah,
Please
Yeah.
fill in this form.
right, we'll be there till.
Tell us
1 p.m.
what you're gonna do. Cool.
Okay, so there's processes in place if people want to do that. That's great. Thank you.
So do you want us to give you feedback on
Yes,
that? on the
I would
map
love you
specifically?
to draw the map where you think is a good place.
What do we think about the lake? I need to Google an actual satellite image. We feel like people should be able to take. I personally think they should be able to. Yeah. I think the problem there is. Tricky, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Like, yes,
yeah.
but being devil's advocate,
Yeah.
if you take that away and someone rocks up in their car
Yeah.
with a load of booze and they start breaking bottles and being loud.
But isn't
But
that
that's
the
a different
harassing
problem.
No,
disruption
that's the
with police?
same, but that's the only authority that the police have to stop it.
What if they're being a public nuisance? That seems like that would be beyond. So say you've got a couple of teenagers and they're noisy and having a laugh.
But then they have to
Have a law to govern on.
have to fine them, like they have to take it to the next.
Oh, you can't
Step.
find them.
They can't just say, please pour out your.
Okay.
Which is, probably going to put a dampener on the event. And
So this gives them a less intense level of enforcement. It's similar to that light boy racer thing. And
Yeah.
they don't have to go to the
Yeah.
escalator to
Yeah.
the next level. Okay.
You guys think about having a civilized drink somewhere,
Mm.
but the other extreme.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, you really have to think of it as
Yeah.
the two.
And it's hard because the majority of the community would be
Mm.
having civilized drinks and enjoying reasonable amounts of alcohol.
So- Just remember that this has been in place for the last
Yeah,
not
sure.
quite 10 years, 8 years, yeah.
And
I
as
know
far
that
as
was
I'm
you.
aware, it works pretty well
Yeah.
currently.
Mm.
In Cambridge, there's very little, like from, not concert,
Safety Community Trust.
Seven, thank you,
With alcohol.
and the police, for this specific issue,
Yeah.
a little.
Did the chamber get back to
Street
you?
parties all
Yeah,
good.
thank you. I don't think that's a little.
Okay. Hospitality will have. Yeah.
Yeah, it's more, so other people taking away business.
But really feedback on the map, per se, if it's worked well for the last how many years and there's nothing new or taken off it. I mean,
I'm just trying to read the wrong parts.
Yeah.
Myself.
yeah.
Yeah, and
But yeah,
I think it follows the,
what about all the stuff over here? You can still walk through there.
some of it's pretty. Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, that's like a big parking area.
I think a lot of it's probably based on reducing the number of people preloading and then walking into town.
Town.
Yeah, like they can't even go to the mud anymore.
Well, they can do.
So I guess that's the other thing is this does get reviewed every 10 years. So we're bringing it forwards a little bit to line it up with everything else. But so visualize 10 years in the future.
Yeah, so Leamington Domain is excluded. And Gwynedd Common, into the green space. Am I right? Yeah.
The in-
Sorry, the alcohol ban, yeah, they're including the alcohol ban, so. How does the top 10 holiday park fall? That doesn't count in public place.
Lisa, have anything to say about this?
Not so much in Cambridge.
Right. We don't know what Cambridge will be like.
No.
Yes,
But
so like,
because
it's
it's gotta be-
very.
But it's also,
Be like, she's good
is there no
now.
issues because it's in place?
Yeah.
Because it's been in place for so long, or are there no
Has
issues?
Te Awamutu not got a similar?
They do also, yeah, Kia and Te Awamutu have one, but it's, I guess it's a different makeup in town where the businesses are with the, yes, I just like where the band sits on top is. Makes it a bit.
The card split is all included in the thing.
No.
Uh,
And that's going commercial too.
Yeah, so that's interesting. Oh, so
That's
it's
mixed,
not.
that's
yeah.
mixed now.
Yeah, that's been mixed
People are gonna start
commercial.
doing
There's a phase change.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
Exactly.
that's probably one of the bigger changes since this.
Yeah.
So that, if we're doing this, then you'd extend it. I don't see how you could justify not extending it. Well, because it's essentially an extension of the CBD.
That's true.
Is it necessary? I mean, does that mean that you have to change the housing?
Well, I guess it's not fixed to the CBD. In my argument, that
It
that's
doesn't
different.
have to be in the CBD, but
Yeah.
it's just how people move.
I'm just thinking, future thinking, we don't know what those
Yeah.
spaces going to look like. There might be more
Yeah.
restaurants. Yeah, commercial, there could be more of those spaces down there that who knows what that's, there'll be apartments.
Because there already is those few little ones alongside further along.
But this doesn't prohibit license.
No, it
Zero
doesn't.
through there.
Yes,
doesn't.
yes, but
But
one of the
still
one
the
of the
same.
things that the police did comment on was like preloading and side loading.
Yeah.
So they might do that outside the premises,
Yes.
hide in the bushes, whatever. And then yeah, and then go to the bar and then in between come out, have a drink, go back in.
Not that I'm like pro extending alcohol ban here, but I just think that's, it seems to me, understanding how that's the nature of it's going to change in the next 10 years. And we don't get to live in this for 10 years' time.
You can always make amendments, but you have to go through the whole review process.
I still feel like I don't have sufficient, like, or like around this. I think what do local businesses think?
We are definitely going to consult them as well.
Yeah, so that could be some of them. Yeah, I don't know how you guys feel, but I just feel like there's so much more I want to understand about how sending that ban might impact them, whether this needs to be more. Or just like just public areas, not residential areas, and doing it with green belt, including all the other reserved spaces. Just knowing how some of those development sales are going to happen on the edge of the green belt as well. Town grows. It's not a problem now, hopefully it never will be.
These wouldn't have to be definitive positions, though, right?
No, we're gonna
Consider-
I'm gonna come back. Yeah, this is just also something
We've got questions.
that, you know, it still needs to go to the police for their feedback.
Yeah, I'd be really
Um,
interested to know.
So
what they have to say.
reached out to them and other communities in contact, asked what's happening. There's limited data. There's definitely some indication there. Good, keep it. Don't get rid of it. But as to where the problem areas are, there's definitely a couple of parks that are like holiday hotspots where currently there's nothing to stop the night getting super exciting.
Yeah. Because also you've got Cambridge North stuff, right? Like the playground, that end of
Yes,
town.
I don't know.
Is that included? Sorry. No, so there's a few other areas there. Town's really growing in.
I've certainly noticed more alcohol rubbish along the green belt here,
Interesting.
but I'm not aware of any actual
Public
behavioural
drinking.
issues
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
disturbance being created
Yeah.
to go along with that.
Yeah, sure.
One of the things that has been suggested is possibly looking at just playgrounds,
Yeah.
because it's sort of a easily definable area, because there is a lot of problems with rubbish and like broken bottles. And
Yeah, which is really problematic.
The playground thing, the play equipment.
yeah, play equipment and for skate parks.
Where that would currently be
Skate
excluded
parks
LA.
currently are doing
Yeah, that's currently.
that.
But that would,
Playgrounds themselves would seem like a bit of a no-brainer to include, but I guess it's going to make your mat really patchy.
oh, I mean, this is just like,
First thoughts.
yeah,
Yeah.
don't worry about what the map's gonna look like.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are the sort of semi-rural
What I would
Make
say
some
about
time
it,
to right, you remember this time.
Please be able to say, "Can you smell it, drink one of this?"
what I would say about
I've got 3 kids, all right, just let me have my point.
playgrounds though, birthday parties, people go down, some of our playgrounds have barbecues.
Yeah.
So they're hosting a
Well, at the
birthday
lake
party.
especially.
Yeah, there's adults.
So I
they're
mean,
having-
currently,
I know it's fine,
Yes.
I'm playing devil's advocate to the
Mm.
example of the blanket ban on playgrounds, because my point would be,
Yeah.
come down for a Saturday, you've got your 3-year-olds and your adults, and they're having a flight there, and it's totally responsible, it's a family picnic. You set this alcohol ban, and someone's like, hey, come here,
Yeah.
and they complain, and then suddenly that can be enforced. So I,
Especially when you've got like cooking facilities at that new playground.
Totally.
Like a barbecue.
yeah, like it seems, we don't wanna be like the fun.
But also you want to make sure that people who are responsible with alcohol are not drinking at a playground either. So it's those two
Yeah.
extremes where most people are going to be fine, but
Yeah.
got to.
Which is where the police
Yeah.
discretion.
Exactly. Yeah, we just keep coming back to that, don't we? So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Oh, no, totally, yeah.
But it's exactly the same.
Yeah, no, it's.
Yeah, teenagers shouldn't be drinking anyway, right? Like, if you're talking about a 16-year-old, that's,
18 years.
okay,
Down at the playground, it's not bad
yeah,
at all.
no.
And you don't want to be there at night drinking glass and kids.
do we need more info, do you think, from the police and from?
Well, do we have to come to any kind of decision today?
You
You just want
what-
to feed them?
yeah, what we're doing today
It's just wait.
Yeah.
This is a conversation.
is getting
yeah.
feedback, and
Yeah.
then later we'll come back to you with a draft. We'll
Yeah.
talk about it some more.
And answer some of our questions.
We could even just
Answer
ask.
questions.
Well, yeah, that's what,
Yeah.
like, all I'm
List
doing
of
is,
questions.
there's all
Yeah.
these things
Yeah.
that we want to know.
Yeah, I mean, it would be cool if you have some ideas that, just taking us to the next
Yes.
group, and you guys
Yeah.
are just unfortunately always first with the calendar.
No,
Um,
unfortunately. No.
You always get to be my guinea pig.
Right,
We like it, we like it.
Yeah, well, I guess those things that we've mentioned, it would be good to test with other
Yes,
Yeah.
totally.
Cars, like playgrounds.
playgrounds.
Playgrounds,
Yeah.
But maybe something about barbecue areas.
That makes sense. Oh,
And the green belt, you forget it.
I'm interested in people's thoughts on, I mean, it's mostly horses and
Well, like, quite a lot of it's not recognised.
Oh,
It
yeah.
is, yeah, which would be
Um,
licensed premises.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And they have a bit of a thing about them, the others, but they don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that like that dog park on Taylor Street, people camp there when they're doing the dog events, so they would probably like to be able to.
Yeah.
Drink
Yeah,
after it.
the
They
definition
have
of playground is
responsibility.
obviously something that
Yes,
would need to be worked.
yeah.
So you're sort of thinking it's problematic on the green belt, just because of the mixed use nature of it.
Yes.
Move it, but,
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The dog things are very similar.
But it's all the
Usually
parents that take in
quarters
from
is
Robinson.
that.
Sure,
bar.
yeah, yeah.
There's several hundred of them.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's
wow.
Crazy.
Yes, just unbelievable.
Oh, yeah.
So you did a camping, right?
Down here, it is.
Why not? Again, sure. But technically,
Yes.
So if people give it rowdy, then they can.
Yeah,
yeah.
in Cambridge North would be interesting to see. Some of the,
Okay,
but maybe it's just the playground.
Like I say, Apple Road.
I can't think of anything up there that would be specific.
Because there's no real.
It's just areas where people.
What about the new Hampton Road development? Isn't this like if you're a school and restaurant cafe? But I guess it's the license premises. Yeah, pre-loading zone.
And there's already the.
It's like dinner.
Should they have a
Give a
license?
special license.
Yeah.
I know there's lots of public
For the
space
season.
around there, I guess is my point, there's a big public
Yeah.
area.
And they have the bollards that they close off that area at night.
Oh,
Might be
okay.
on that one, so it was antisocial.
Okay. It's not
Hey, so
sure.
what's your point about rural roads? What's your point about rural roads?
Well, the old one, I mean, it's like.
It probably ties in with the boy racer stuff.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering.
Yeah,
Actually,
they go
I
hand
wonder
in
why
hand.
all rural roads aren't involved.
Yeah.
I mean, who should be walking along?
Yeah,
Rural roads.
yeah.
And you get a certain amount of the thing, right?
Yeah, but
Yeah.
wouldn't it get tricky with some of those little cul-de-sac-y rural roads which aren't rural? There's not a lot of them, like little lanes and things that would come under a rural road thing and that gets funky. I mean, I guess you've got discretion, but.
practically that one might be quite,
Very
Just couldn't
hard
think of that.
to.
I feel like even the police would have to be like, oh, is this?
Yeah. Unless you're gonna go blanket district.
Yeah,
Which is
because
crazy.
signage is also part of it.
Yeah.
Oh, I guess.
Yeah, that's true. So people know there's an alcohol.
Yeah.
Put your drinks away.
Just something else to think about, by no means saying that anything should happen here, but just because it's in your hood. Got Karapiro as well.
Yeah.
You know, this would be a suggestion at all that
Currently, the domain is.
currently there's nothing.
Oh,
So that's just that,
Oh, there is no ban.
there's nothing.
Oh, is that what they do?
Oh,
What, all the time?
Or event by event, or.
Oh, that's right.
for the summer.
Yeah, that's right. We listed them, right?
Oh, just plug
Right.
it into the calendar. We've got
Yeah.
events coming up. And do they do that just to make it easier for police to enforce? Oh, okay.
So I guess I'll just very clarify that as well, that part of there's permanent alcohol ban areas and there's temporary
Okay.
alcohol ban areas.
Hey, this is helpful.
Sort of
thinking
like the
that
dog
there's both.
as well,
Okay.
you know, like you can have your dog on leash and off leash at certain times. Currently, you have to go through the council process to make a temporary ban. They also just write, like some councils have over the summer months
Yes,
from
yeah.
X to X.
Yeah. And we don't, it's all where there's alcohol bans.
We've got the permanent ones and then go through the temporary process.
Has there been any feedback that these permanent ones could be temporary? Like, are there certain times of the year that?
Over the weekend, Friday through to Sunday,
Yeah.
a bit more activity.
Do we still have leisure shopping? We have it.
Yeah. Yeah, it is,
specialised,
yeah,
Yeah.
the town hall itself is excluded.
We're not looking at the, yeah, just wander into it.
Yeah.
Yeah, need to put fences up and whatever.
Yeah. So, yeah, I guess have a think about that. There's one last thing, I guess, sort of more on the parks. Another area that's been highlighted is kind of controversial for people is like Bulmer's Landing area over the summer months.
Which land?
That is by Arakuni.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh,
So what is that? Is that, that's not alcohol?
None of the landings along the lake, huh?
You better hang on the campground.
it's a campground, yeah.
Right.
I guess the question is that a place that would benefit from like a after 11 PM over
Right.
summer?
Sure.
That's in the boy racer areas now.
Yeah.
So those roads are, yeah.
Okay.
What are they saying?
West Dana is very limited this side of the district.
It's really cool.
Beautiful,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's really
beautiful
cool.
spot.
So you can be quite nuanced with your bands. You know, it can be a.
Yeah, it needs to be
11
like
till 6
realistically, it
a.m.
needs to be easily understood and like
Yeah.
easily signposted, useful.
Yeah. Okay.
Like in places like Katianga and that, you know, certain
Yeah.
times of the year, it
All
is
those
quite
weird
popular, like,
places, yeah.
yeah, that's.
Well, I guess that's
really
why I'm
targeted.
surprised that we have such a quite heavy, strong alcohol ban zone. We're not like a destination over here, but we've got a similar alcohol ban at the mountain. And they'll just have it over some months, but ours is just all year round, so that's the preference. What's the problem?
You must see stuff. Do you see stuff?
Oh, I see the grass. Yeah, you can see the photos.
And then Google photos come shrimp up.
Oh.
You should all go camping.
It's a place in the photo.
Look at him sitting there watching.
So just Google it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's some evidence that
Yeah, based on the Google and.
So I guess to summarize, a couple of things to think about. The permanent ban, sort of in the center of the city. Are we happy with that? The potential of parks, district-wide definition, quite, you know, would need to work how that is included.
I reckon we could argue playgrounds if we can get slightly less bands would be whole after 9 PM for stuff. If someone is having a lunchtime wine barbecue that's to an 18-year-old, I'll go down and like off drinking playground. If they are, there's you know what I mean? So we were going to bring in a playground thing, I think, if we were to either find out what they actually do. But this is just a no alcohol in that. Would be a balanced like a.
Can you time limit it?
Right.
Can you time limit it?
Yeah, that's what that was talking about, that we can do from this time to this time, as long as it's clear. and it's
Yeah, you just have
signed.
to justify.
Will you liaise with them? Some of their thoughts on consuming alcohol?
Yeah, I'll be.
They might have cultural reasons why. Area.
Are you aware of anything?
Like for them to talk
No, not specifically.
Oh.
No.
Yeah. No, so I've engaged with Mika in the background to this. and
She
so
helped.
The collaboration with places that have tested out and working out
Yeah.
the information that we need, yeah, so it's a lot of work.
Yeah, just, I've talked a little bit about it, due to talk some more about it, but it might not even be something that registers necessarily. Yeah.
Well, somewhere with Hannah's flat, fish mart, playgrounds, fish mart.
Yeah.
Not readout. Maybe that can be all. Homeless landing.
Question mark?
Fish mart.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, definitely keen to hear any further feedback from the police, safe communities and.
Yeah, if you do, I mean, I think they provided what they
Yeah.
could.
Is so far.
Yeah. Sorry, probably should have really given you. Didn't mention it in the report, but. The section. So one of the things you have to do with the bylaw is going through the justification process. Yeah. So all that information is in there. So I'll send that to you. The next step, yeah, so you come up with a draft and then we'll workshop that some more and that draft gets tested, like again through that, does it meet, infringe on any human rights?
Yeah.
And then, yeah, so there's a couple more steps with the final bylaw. And then we go for consultation, once we've done all of that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Oh, thank you.
That's cool. Thanks. Yes. I just want to put it on the wall.
We'll come back.
Can you recycle this?
This one, I know,